I realized I'd never actually posted a video about them. So anyway, these are what was called the Otto white vintage boot line. And actually, I have the photo still. I'll throw it up here like a digital picture, but I had printed this a long time ago. Is that focused, I hope? But you can see right there, vintage. Oh, the glare is terrible. Vintage boot line. Has that old Archie's logo, which you still see sometime. So these, I think, were 2018. Let me look. Yeah, 7/2018 was the production of these. 11E, by the way, size-wise. You can see 07/18. And these, as I understood it, I had to look at some old posts on, I think, Reddit and Fedora Lounge, maybe Style Forum. But this was like a cheap line, cheap compared to the Goodyear welt that White's does. They're obviously, sorry, cheaper than the Stitch Down. They were a Goodyear welt, which you see even today with Whites. Their Goodyear welt stuff's cheaper than the Stitch Down. Obviously, it's more machine done and less human, handmade. The leather might be thinner. I don't know. This is still a pretty thick shaft. It feels, I would say, similar to my other PNW stuff. The vamp's no structure, so it's hard to tell. It's pretty soft, but I mean, it's still supple, like compared to a cowboy boot. Like if you watched my video on those Rios, and the same with the Chisos that I bought and returned last year. It's definitely a thicker leather, more than like a normal cheap leather. Other weird stuff is it has rivets, which kind of is like old school military vibe. I don't know. It's kind of neat, kind of not cool. I don't know. It pisses me off too with the factory second, I think it is. They screwed this one up. It's like dented. When they set it, they didn't do it well. Couple back here. You know, the idea is, you know, with the pull loop, you're not going to rip that out, and you're never going to separate the stitching here. I get the point of it, why they did it in military boots, but probably not necessary. This is kind of cool, by the way. I don't think any other Whites line did they put this. It's that same Archie's logo that I was showing you on the paper. You know, it's easier to, you know, it's actually funny. It actually came with this little card too. Again, there's that focus. Same logo. I guess that's Otto White's signature. But it's kind of cool having that debossed or whatever stamped in there. Versus the typical Whites logos. I mean, they're modern stuff. It just says Whites boots. It's kind of boring. Kind of a flat text. It came with this. You can see how old these are. This paper is kind of, I don't know, browning. And then this old boot guide thing. But these were all in the box when I bought them. Bought them from some random Western store. I think in Ohio or something. It's totally random. And like I said, they were, you know, I don't know if they were even discounted. The price was like, and the normal price was higher, and the sale price was lower. But I don't know what the retail on was, you know, when they sold these in 2018. Who knows what it was? But I'll show you some of the problems. So, like, look, this one's really obvious. Look how terrible that welt stitching is. It's like a darker color, and then it's a lighter color here, and you could tell they like kind of picked up and started over again. And then there's a bunch of holes where they ripped it out and redid it, probably because the quality control person was like, you failed. You can see the leather, look how bad that is. There's two different lines. So they clearly redid you can see it on the outside here too. This welt is just filled with holes. I don't think it's going to matter as far as its durability, because the one they redid is solid, but it's ugly and it bothers me. And then I don't know, I swear it almost looks like they airbrushed the welt to match the Red Dog or something. It's like the same color, and it almost looks like from angles there might have been overspray. I think of like Beto when he's redoing a boot and using the airbrush to do like to dye a boot a different color. Sorry, a shoe. He's doing shoes. He did build a boot, but I don't know. It's like there's a glistening on some of the bottom, not up here on the shaft, only around the heel counter and the vamp. I don't know. It makes it almost look like they did some type of airbrushing with a dye. It does have a kilty, which is kind of weird because it's not a gusseted tongue. The tongue gusset starts, or so it goes up to right after the first. Yeah, it's like literally the gusset ends right after the first speed hook. So it's not a fully gusseted. So it's almost a loose tongue, but then they still put in a kilty. But I guess it's, you know, you're going to stitch down, or sorry, lace down hard there. Gives you some protection. Originally it was a sawtooth style, like logger kilty. Eventually I got tired of that and I did my whole like soup can cut. I did some videos about that a year or so ago. I've shown that boot quite a bit. I'll show you this one. That one has better creasing if you're into the whole soft toe creasing. This one's kind of just like holding its shape. Looks like a peanut or something. I don't know. It's a little bit of wear. I didn't wear these too much because I always just got frustrated looking at the ugly welt. But you're starting to see a little bit of that cool red dog where the outer kind of wears away and it's lighter underneath. But I never worked in. Here's a couple random spots where you can see it. Red Dog's an interesting leather. I was obsessed with Red Dog, which is why I bought these, because whites were more, you know, whites current production when I got these, shoot, I think the beginning of 2023, like January, during the holiday season kind of, or right after, I guess, right after New Year's, something like that. You couldn't get any, everything was, you know, long lead times and higher priced, so I kind of thought this was kind of a little deal. Thinking, you know, hindsight, you know, when whites are on sale, they're arguably a better price than this for a true stitch down, like the C350 line versus this kind of poorly done Goodyear welt. The only thing I'll give these that's interesting is this is a different last. I don't know what this last is, but it's not a packer per se, but it's sort of pointy toed and it's a lot more comfortable. So this is a way roomier toe box than a 55. I guess I can't totally say that. I've never had a 55 in 11E. I have a Thurman 55 in 11E from NYX, which should have a bigger toe, and this has a bigger toe than even the Thurman. This has a much bigger toe than my 67s in 11E. It has a bigger toe than my whites 11Ds that I sold all those, and the one pair of whites 11.5D says a bigger toe. So you can wear a thick sock, or if you wear a thin sock, you have like tons of toe splay room. You can see it sticks way out, almost like a Thurman, and then it's kind of straighter. So comfort, I don't know, in a way these almost feel slightly too big when I wear my preferred thin sock. I could say it that way. They're not too big, but like my toes feel like they can maybe move around a little bit too much. With a boot sock, like those Dickies boot socks that are not quite as thick as like a Darn Tough, then these feel very secure and nice. But it's a very generous last. And I don't know if some of that's because it's Goodyear welt or what, but, and then the heel is nice. You know, it feels D-ish, maybe D-ish almost. It's a nice snug heel. Not snug, like tight like of some Vibergs, but not loose. Not like the H&W from NYX in 11E where the heel was like for a tree trunk. It was just ridiculous and your heel was sliding around. That's an awful last. But yeah, just not really feeling this. To be fair, I'm not loving Red Dog anymore. I had that kind of obsession after, what's his name, the Rose Anvil dropped that original Drifter and the Red Dog and it looked really cool. I think I kind of got over that, so. It's still neat. I kind of miss the rough out Red Dog pair of whites I had that were too tight. I sold those, but maybe, I don't know, comment if this is your size. Why you think you should get them. Maybe I'll go crazy and give them away to somebody. I don't know. But yeah, these are the Otto White vintage boot line. No longer made, circa 2018-ish. They had Red Dog, which is what this one is. Distressed brown, I guess. It looks brown, darker brown, and then black. And that actually looks like a different, that's funny. That's a V-bar, half sole that actually had the Vibram logo here. These are the Tigum or whatever, Tigum, I've seen, I think they're called. This is a Vibram product apparently, but it doesn't have their branding. Oh yeah, and look at this. I don't know if this is again because it's Goodyear welt, but there's kind of like no arch. It feels fine. It feels like a flatter boot. It definitely doesn't feel like a big arch. So maybe that's something to say. These don't feel like a 55 arch. They feel definitely more like a flat. I've never had an MP whites, but maybe more like that. Maybe I would say more like the H&W, except for not with the awful toe box. I'll put it that way. It's been a while since I had those H&Ws, or I had one, and then I had a Thurman Northwest, which isn't an H&W anyway, but it's definitely a flatter last. But yeah, old school whites box too. I think these boxes were neater than the current one. Cheers.